Hello and welcome to Biz Talks, wherein we are in conversation with tycoons of today. I'm Omkar Chaudhary, and joining me today, we also have Zabia Dalal, who is quite sassy and my co-host for this particular session. Hi, Zabia.
Hello, Omkar. Hello, sir. It's glad I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad for that this session is happening.
Definitely. So, inevitably, we have seen that there was a lockdown that took place on 22nd of March, and everything sort of seems to slow down. I mean, IT industries are going great because they just need a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection. But there are certain industries which seem to take a pause, come to an halt. So one such industry is the travel and tourism industry. So joining me today, we have got Rahul Chauhan from the roomsexpert.com, who's going to elaborate more about how these guys will be driving the whole force, how they're going to be making the changes. So I'm really interested to know how this whole scenarios and how the changing scenarios will be reflected on the sales number as well as in the entrepreneurial success. So a huge welcome, Mr. Rahul Chauhan, to the Biz Talks, wherein we discuss and have a great conversation with tycoons of today.
Thank you so much, Omkar, and thank you, Zahabia. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So before we start, how are you doing, Rahul?
I'm doing great. So just for your information, my network might fluctuate because I have moved out of Delhi to my village like 1 month back. Till the time the numbers and cases for the current COVID situation doesn't go down in my city. So I'm just out of my village.
No worries, no worries. So the very first question, the organic question that really comes to my mind is that due to coronavirus, we are facing the unprecedented lockdown during this year 2020. So how you guys are facing this, and what are your strategies that you're implementing? How you guys are driving your sales?
So just to give you a hindsight of this particular incident, this particular situation, our 90% of business goes from India to international. So we are a travel website which takes care of business travel for companies, right? And while looking at my numbers for China at the end of February last week, I saw around 200 cancellations falling in for China. And that's what struck me. What we did, we started to reduce our cost because I got to know that it would impact India for sure because we have the highest number, one of the largest number of travelers outside China, right? So, and that's where we started to cut down our costs. So 15 days prior to lockdown, when it was announced, my costs were down by around 73%. And that's what we started moving into. Yes, we did that.
That's a big number. That's a very big number. When you see
we have to halt everything because I could foresee that things would not move the way it should have been, right? And I reduced my salary to go with. I reduced my own salary by 50% when we started it. We reduced renegotiated our lease terms with our office partners. We negotiated our terms with our tech team, and complete stuff is out by operations team. Rest all the services are outsourced. So this became a benefit for me because I was able to ask them that cut down my cost. Have these been people on my payroll? It would have been difficult for me to reduce the cost. So this thing worked for me. Another thing worked for me was because I was in very good relationship with all my vendors and partners. I always take them as my partner rather than just as vendors.
Yeah.
So when you have very good relations with them, you're able to, achieve what you want. And that's what worked with us. And that's how we were able to reduce the cost by such great numbers.
I see. So I think one thing that I could really agree to you is that building great relationships and networking really helps. That really sort of makes the business a little bit more easy. So if you want to speak something more about networking, because right now the crowd, the college crowd, which is just out of the college, they're focusing on talent. They're just focusing on having skills. But very few people focus on networking and being great and building a great rapport. So what would you like to say about it?
Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, said that all amazing successful people worked on networks. Rest of the people in the world asked for work. So it's up to you what do you want to have, network or the work. Because network would make you create a difference between you as a founder of a company, between another person who is just slogging his backside just to get work.
Yes.
Wonderful,
Agreed. I
wonderful.
completely
Very
agree
rightly
with
said.
you here.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
because, when we talk about networking, like even I have a business, and my business is a shoe retail. But I have seen, like, when the business started back, like when my shop started reopening, I realized that because I had a good rapport with my vendors, I actually, the flow of the shoes was still okay. But with the other vendors, the ones who had not paid back their vendors, or the ones who had, like, did not maintain the relationship with them, they are facing a lot of problems. So I can actually relate with this, that networking is very important when it comes to a business.
And Zahabia, just to extending your point, one need to take vendor as a partner because it would create a win-win situation for you, and that's what it works. If you take them as a vendor, they would only work as vendor. But if you take them as a partner,
Right.
they would also go extra mile for you, and that's where things worked out for you, especially with those people who were, whom you had a fantastic relationship to start with.
Right, right.
Wonderful.
Actually, my
Right.
business is relatively new, so I'm learning new things every day as the day goes by. So yeah, I mean, I'll keep that in mind. So
Each day
coming
is a
back,
new learning for everyone. Even I
yeah,
learn every day. So it's just the way it is designed to be.
yeah,
Right.
definitely,
Right.
definitely.
And also speaking about the fact that what are the factors or the elements that really suck the joy out of working, and what are the factors that you would really love to see changing in the industry?
So I'll first give you an example of on the overview level. When you start a business, the biggest problem you face is to get new customers. And if you
Right.
acquire the customer, the biggest pain is then the get the money coming in. Customer आपको आज मिल सकता है, but getting the money in is something more
Hmm.
difficult. So that actually sucks the joy out of it. If we talk about industry per se, especially if we talk about travel industry, it's very interesting to understand that even though we have got IT companies which are we are the IT hub for the world, right? And India has the maximum IT companies, mostly doing great. And we talk about business travel, we have got certain other platforms coming in. Still 70% of business travel in India is offline, and which is
Right.
heartening for people like us. We
Right.
still work on emails and every other stuff, but we still don't go. We have not automated the complete process to a fully functional platform. So that's where things are currently in our industry, and that's where I personally feel that one has to come up and work where things start moving from offline to online.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sort of this entire COVID-19 situation, this whole unprecedented lockdown is teaching us the importance of online transactions. And somewhere we have moved to the whole online connect that we have got with the people and the business and the industry.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Right. And also, one more question that I have that really excites me to ask you is that what are the factors that really drive your sales number? What are the factors that really increase your productivity? Because travel and tourism industry is such an exotic and a wonderful place to be in. So, what are those factors?
So to increase your numbers, especially in corporate travel, is the relationship which you maintain and the network which we discussed about, right? So network and relationship work especially with corporate travel. It would also work if you just need to increase your numbers. You need to focus that you are able to acquire new clients at the one end and you are able to sustain them. So we as a business have got more than 93% of client retention with us. So if we have got
Right.
Right.
high number of retention rates, my business with those guys would be at one level. And if we are able to increase the sales number, that's where the numbers actually starts coming in. So these
Wonderful.
are the
Wonderful.
two key focus areas where we focus. First to retain those relationships, to retain those customers, and second, then go ahead and acquire new customers.
All right. So, it's more about the networking, I would say.
It's more about how you maintain your relationship with them.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And one of your recent posts on LinkedIn says that for most people, success is positive thing, while failure is something negative. I really want to know what is your take on this, and what was the whole thought process, mindset before posting this?
You know, all the success, all the success stories would always give you learnings,
Right.
but you get experience out of a failure story. I have failed in 3 businesses before this. My 4th business succeeded, right? Nobody would
Right.
knew me for my first 3 business. People start acknowledging me only after this business became successful, right? But those 3 businesses actually laid the foundation for me as a businessman. So that's
Right.
where the experience which you gain out of a failure story is something which one need to focus on.
Wonderful.
Right.
Zabia, what's your take on this? Do you agree
Yeah,
with
I
sir?
mean, I definitely agree with sir because actually even I had 2 failed businesses before this, and this is like my 3rd business, and it got started just few months back. So yeah, I can completely relate to it because the losses we have incurred in the failed businesses and all those things. So yeah, it definitely taught us a lot of things, like 2 difficult years to be precise, 2 very difficult years. But yeah, and I think you are right, sir. And I would like to talk about your failed businesses. What were those businesses and what were your learnings from those
So
businesses?
coming to my learnings first, I need to understand that at what level I need to call my shot that, okay, it's done, now I have to close it down. Because
Right.
taking that decision is quite important for anyone,
Hmm.
right? So my earlier 2 businesses were on the retail side of it rather than on the B2B side. I had a ice cream parlor in one of the finest shopping malls in Delhi, and I had one franchisee of a dairy product company. So those were
Okay.
2 failed businesses for me.
Hmm.
This one I had done a lot of iterations where I listened to my uh, customers and I was able to build and innovate things for them.
Hmm. All right. So it's like you came from a complete retail business to a complete digital business, because these 2 are completely different things when we go to see. So, like, this is pretty marvelous to think about. Like, just
Yes.
changing the entire mindset is a very, very different thing. So, yeah, it's amazing.
And
Now, coming back to the.
yeah,
Yeah, sir, please. Yeah.
and
What were
that's
you
where
saying?
one need to realize that you need to change your business models or your offering to the customer as and when required. So just to give you an example, when we started off Rooms Expert way back in 2015, 2016, right?
Hmm.
We were launched as a retail website for hotels in third world countries. So those third
Okay.
world countries were like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan,
Right.
all the African continents,
Hmm.
Latin American countries, right? And in first 6 months, we realized that we had just done one transaction. So there was no money coming in.
Yeah, of course.
However, we had one customer on the corporate travel side, which were making us sustained, and we realized that let's put our money where the mouth is. So we started
Hmm.
focusing on business travel and B2B. And that's where we also evolved as a human being. We also evolved as a company where we started from hotels for Africa and third world countries to a B2B platform of hotels for corporates, and then to
Corporates.
complete travel management platform for them. And that again came in from customers' feedback.
Hmm. Yeah, so the customer's feedback is the most important thing in a digital business, because if your customer is not satisfied, there is no way the other people would come in and invest in your business or
Oh,
take.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's say this is an Oppo phone. I want to
Hmm.
sell it because I own Oppo, right? But you want to
Right.
want to have Apple, then I
Hmm.
would have to sell an iPhone rather than an Oppo phone, and that's where the
Right.
perception lies.
It depends on what you can provide to your customers, in short,
Absolutely, yes, yes.
and what your customer demand is. Awesome. So, like, when we talk about your B2B business, and you've been into corporate travel. So, in your blog, you've talked about how technology has helped the businesses all around the world. So, as we talk about this, the business traveling, when it comes to business traveling, even that has been very hampered because of the pandemic situation. So, before and after the situation, what is the new strategy and what is the next strategy that you are planning to apply to your business to bring its normal pace back?
So first I need to be realistic. And the realistic
Mhm.
situation is that the normal numbers which we were doing till January or February would not be coming back to us till 2023 or 24, the next 3-4 years from now, right?
Mhm.
So this is a realistic situation. So what we
Yeah.
can do to sustain ourselves for so long time would be that we need to do a lot of collaborations, and that's where we are currently working on. If you need to outsmart people and you need to move out of zero sum game. So what is zero sum game? Zero sum game is you've got limited number of customers with you, and you've got higher number of service providers, and they will all
Mhm.
pounce on that particular limited set of customers to gain some business or market share out of that. So it
Right.
creates a zero sum game where no one makes money. But if
Mhm.
you are able to do good number of collaborations with international partners, domestic partners, that's where you will be able to sustain for the longest time. And
Right.
that's where I personally feel that collaborations is the keyword right now, especially for travel industry.
Collaborations. All right. So, yeah, so like when we talk about collaborations and all that stuff, like are the people willing to collaborate? Because because of the pandemic situation, like tourism is a hardly hit business right now because there is nobody is willing to go to any other country. Like if another country is a very different thing, nobody is going willing to go to another city. So it is the hardest hit business. So are people willing to collaborate with you when it comes to
So
this? Like,
just to give you an example, Zabia, we have been receiving, introductions. We have been receiving connects from LinkedIn, from companies which we were trying to, collaborate earlier. Now they are coming back to
okay,
us. Those are Malaysian,
okay,
Vietnamese, Japanese, international Japanese companies where they are willing to collaborate as of today's scenario. Because if you understand today's situation, beat us,
Mhm.
beat any largest of the organization in travel industry, everyone has been sitting on zero numbers, and that's an absolute zero.
Right.
Us
Yes. So
zero,
it's like it's working in a reverse way now.
absolutely yes. So us zero say how fast you can reach that 100 as a mark. That's where the
Mhm.
difference lies.
All
So
right. All right.
everyone is at a level playing field, and you just need to outsmart your competition, and you need to just, rather than outsmarting, you need to collaborate with your people in, whether it's in a value chain or whether it's with your competitors as well.
All right, all right. That's completely understandable. Now coming back to your blog articles, like from your blog, did the global government falter on coronavirus front? You talk about how the travel industry has been majorly hit. I know I've been speaking about how it has been hit because it is like the hot topic. Like even the news has been all around tourism right now. So seeing the current conditions, it is perceived that the travel industry, as you said, it won't come back to its pace till 2023. So now that you said that you've been collaborating with the companies for the next 2 to 3 years when it is going to be zero sum, as you said, so how do you manage to still work on it? Because many businesses will stop when it comes to travel and tourism. There will be many
Correct.
businesses who succumb to this situation and might stop. So to keep it going, what are your plans, like to still get some amount coming into the business, because you can't stay without money.
Absolutely yes. And
Yeah.
that's a fantastic question you have asked, Habia. So there are two things which I personally feel would be, in for next 2-3 years. First would be domestic travel would increase than international travel,
Okay.
right? So
Mhm.
if domestic travel is increasing, we need to focus on the domestic side of it. I said
All
earlier
right.
that 90% of my business went international because that's
Mhm.
where our strength lied 3 months back. As of
Yeah.
today, we need to understand only domestic markets have opened up.
Right.
And if only domestic travel would increase to start with, so we should be focusing we should be refocusing and making our strength as domestic market as well. Now,
Mhm.
in domestic market, what would happen? There would be for sure increase in business travel, slowly and steadily, but that might take time.
Yeah.
However, there is an interesting take which might come up. With everyone working from home, people
Mhm.
are feeling homesick. I'm
Yeah.
feeling homesick,
That's.
right?
Mhm.
So if people are feeling homesick and everyone is doing webinars, everyone doing online meetings and everything is having on from a distance, right?
Yeah.
If I'm working out of my village rather than my home in Delhi, right?
Yeah.
It hardly matters to anyone. So if I can go down to a mountain area or to Goa, and I can stay there for next 10-15 days, and I can work from there, I'm done with it. Till that I'm able to find internet connectivity, and I need a safe place to stay.
Right.
So getting that safe place is the key in today's scenario. So how do I get a safe place? I would only go to hotels or places to stay where someone has recommended that it's a good hotel to stay at. So that's where we reversed it, and we had started to speaking to hotel owners and launched a small project with the name Project Stay Safe, where we have been speaking to hotel owners within India, how they have been working on sanitization, how they have been working on social distancing, and how they are working on these kind of new norms coming in. And why specifically hotel owners? Because if there is a hotel owner speaking from the front, we as human being take that word for sure. If there is a manager or someone else speaking, we might not take it so seriously, and that's why we have been speaking to hotel owners. Also, we also need to consider another thing into it. People would not be traveling to far distances. So any distance which is driving distance, Mumbai to Goa is driving distance. Delhi to Nainital, Delhi to Mussoorie is driving distance.
Yes.
People would be willing to take up driving distances. Thirdly, people would not go to crowded places. So all the over tourism destinations, be it North India, be it Western India, be it any part of India, would reduce. People would be going to smaller towns, smaller cities, and smaller destinations. So smaller destinations would pick up. Over tourism places would go down, and these kind of driving distances would be the new norm. And people would be doing meetings even while staying there. So there would not be any new scenario where for a 10-day, 15-day trip, you will be staying in 6 different cities. You'll be staying in one single city for next 10 to 15 days.
Yes.
So that's where we particularly think that would be new norm coming in.
All right, that is pretty interesting to think about. So that also brings me to this this question that I have had on my mind for a very long time. So when the pandemic situation came in, there were a lot of people who were stranded. So at that time, what was the scenario? Like, did you incur losses, or it was a profitable time for the tourism industry? Because people were stranded, obviously they were in hotels. So they were like, no service is free. So at that time, did you have to give in discounts to people? How did you manage? How was the scenario at that time when the people were stranded?
So Zahabia, at one point of time, you need to make a decision that you want to make money out of it, or you want to be, have that human touch coming in.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was your decision, sir?
8 people stranded in different parts of the world so we had 8 people stuck in different part of the world from our clients. 4 in Australia, 2 in Japan, 1 in US, 1 in UK. Right. And all those people were stuck in those countries. We decided that we would not make money out of that particular situation. We'll first help them out. Any money which has to be paid to the hotel would be paid to the hotel, but we'll not make any money just to, squeeze customers at that point of time. And this is one decision which we personally felt that we should be taking it, because this is not the right time to make money. It is the time to help the other human being. And that's where
you took humanity.
Absolutely, yes. And that's where the human character and the organization's character gets evolved. That's where my employees look up to me. That's where my clients look up to me. That's where we also decided that this is one decision which we have to take carefully.
Awesome. That's great, because like there are a lot of companies who did squeeze out their customers when it came to when they were stranded. So it is it is great to know that a company like yours is actually paying attention on how to help them out rather than just, squeeze them from the money and make money in that situation. That is like really great on your side. I really applaud that. So coming back to the question, since we are really tight on time. So coming back to the questions, you've worked for various travel agencies, and you've also backpacked across the country and outside as well. So what were your major learnings when you were traveling? What did you
Uh,
learn?
Sorry, I think there was some internet connectivity issue. Can you just repeat this question?
Yeah, sure. So, my question was, you've backpacked across the country and you've traveled so much with the travel agencies and on your projects. So, what was the major learning that you got when you were traveling that you would like to share with us?
The more you travel, the more your mind opens up. The more,
Okay.
you know, different kind of people you interact with. You understand how they think, how they understand things, how they are behaving in a certain situation. And that's what you
Right.
inculcate. Now it's up to you whether you want to take the negative side of it or the positive side of it. So I
Yes.
became what I am today because I was able to travel from the top of the country to the bottom of the country, from north to south, from east to west, and also to the different part of the world.
Right.
So if
So,
you want to
it just,
open your purview, your thinking possibilities, start traveling. And that's what I have taught my kid from the age of 3. I have been, making at least 2 trips in an year, be it India or abroad, so that she's
Mhm.
able to inculcate these kind of things and is able to grab that if she needs to understand and learn more. It's not just the
Right.
formal education.
Mhm.
Traveling makes a lot of difference into it.
So it's kind of like different cultures give you different ideas, and you can kind of know how the ideology works in the various places, and it helps you out with learning new stuff.
Absolutely, and that's where it also helps to you to collaborate with those kind of people because you're able to understand them more. If you're not able to understand the other person, how are you going to collaborate?
Right. Exactly. That is a good learning. Like viewers, if you're like, this is a very great thing to take from this conversation, that you should know who you're talking to. Like you should know what to speak when you're speaking to someone. So yeah, that is one great learning. That also brings me to this next question. Like you have spoken about investment pitches and how to pitch when you're talking about business. So like, since this is an entrepreneurial talk, pitch is a very important aspect of startup. So please, can you please discuss with us about your ideas on pitch?
So, okay. So, what is the definition of pitch? Pitch basically means, Zahabia, that you meet a investor and you convince him for a next meeting where you
Right.
give them an elaborate, presentation.
Hmm.
So that pitch has to be designed in such a way that you understand the investor more. For example, if you're willing to touch base with an investor who knows travel industry in and out, so you have to focus on key benefit areas that
Right.
where your major focus is. But if you're touching base
Hmm.
with a deep tech investor, you have to focus on the platform side, on the technology which you have been using.
Right.
If you're investing to an angel investor, you have to
Hmm.
give them a broad idea and what are the benefits which you are selling it to your customers. So with your
Right.
what you know we as business owner, we as entrepreneur, we as startup founders do, and it's a grave mistake which I also did, that you only focus on a single pitch and you keep bombarding it to everyone. You want to sell
Right.
one single pitch to every investor. You need to first
Hmm.
understand which is the investor you are targeting, what is his key focus area, and do you fall in his circle of competence so that he's willing to meet you for the next round of talk.
Right. Right. So it is like when you pitch, you have to formulate your pitch in a way when that the investor is convinced with what you are trying to speak about.
Absolutely, yes. So we should not come back to you and say that this industry or this business is not what I am looking at.
Right. Right. So that is also one thing that the viewers can take from you, that when you're speaking to someone, when you're pitching your ideas to a person, you have to see what the person wants and what the person is looking for, and then you have to pitch your idea in that way. Every investor is different, and every investor will require a different pitch. You cannot just put one pitch to everyone. Yeah. So yeah. Right, sir. Right. So coming to the conclusion of this entire conversation with you, I would like to ask you, what is the one thing that you want our viewers to know when it comes to the travel industry? Sir, could you hear me? Yeah. So my question was, what is the one thing you would like our viewers to know about the travel industry, and what is the one thing that you will, tell our viewers to, just look out for when they are traveling?
Keep traveling. India is a beautiful place. We've got around 30 states from north to south. People every place has its own benefits. To keep traveling, to keep educating yourself.
Right. Awesome. So concluding this conversation, thank you so much, sir, for coming and speaking to us and sharing your views with us. And, I hope that our viewers are able to, learn something from this and take away good things from this conversation. And to the viewers, thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. And please stay tuned to the Biz Talks. Thank you so much, sir.